when you need to go through this heavy process in order for you just to be able to eat something, you got to question, and I have to question now whether or not it's really actually helping you.
Hey there, Mama. Welcome to the Marvelous Moms Club podcast. I'm Kirsten Tyrell, and I am the host of this awesome podcast where I get to sit down with moms from all over the world from various walks of life to share their stories of inspiration, knowledge, and all kinds of good stuff to remind you what a truly marvelous mom you are. So sit back and relax, or plug your headphones in and keep doing whatever you're doing, and enjoy today's episode of the Marvelous Moms Club. Hey, Marvelous Moms, welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm so excited today. I'm talking to somebody who's probably going to make my life a whole lot easier because I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I'm very busy. I know we all are very busy. Running a business and running a home can create some discrepancies, I guess you could say, in planning and being on top of things. So my guest today is the lovely Samantha Rodgers, and she is going to save all of our lives and tell us how she has created stellar menu plans and how you guys can get a hold of them too. So welcome to the podcast, Samantha.
Thank you. Thank you. So excited to be here today.
Do you go by Sam more than Samantha?
Sam. Everybody calls me Sam.
Okay, well, we're going to call you Sam.
It's so much shorter.
We're basically best friends now, so I'm calling you Sam.
All right. Sam, I am.
I am Sam. Sam, I am.
Yep.
That's perfect.
That's actually in my personal email. It's part of my personal email.
Is it really? Oh, that's awesome. I probably have seen that. Is it like part of your signature? Or would that have come from your business email?
No, it would have come from my business email.
Okay. Yeah. Well, will you send me a personal email at the end of this so that I can just, see that?
I will.
That would make my life. I'm just kidding. Okay, so tell everybody, first of all, about your kids. How many kids you have, what your family life is like.
Yeah, so I have a 3-year-old daughter named Stella. She just turned 3. She is crazy, rambunctious, super happy. Blonde hair, blue-eyed child, and I know everybody can't see me, but I am like dark hair and green-eyed, and my husband has black hair.
Where did she come from?
We were both blonde when we were babies, but and she has Shirley Temple curls.
Oh.
And my husband would have Shirley Temple curls if he grew his hair out. So, But right now we look like we stole somebody's baby.
That is so funny. My husband was like really blonde as a little boy, and then he grew up to have jet black hair. And with our kids, they had pretty light hair that was more reddish, and we kept waiting for it to go dark. But so far, they all, or not all, my 2 boys have the exact same color of hair. It's just this weird, like reddish, auburnish, blonde. I don't even know where it came from. Probably a little bit more from me, but very weird, huh? How those genetics combined, and we'll have to see what happens to those curls. Maybe she'll eventually start to look like you.
Maybe. It's so weird because I looked up the statistics, and for her to have blue eyes, she had like less than a 1% chance statistically.
That's so crazy.
And she ended up with blue eyes.
That is very, very weird. But I'm sure she's a beautiful girl and you're a beautiful mom. So no doubt some of those gorgeous features came from you.
Thank you. Yeah. So she's a lot of fun. Our family life. So our family life is crazy. We didn't get married planning on having children. It wasn't kind of in the, we just weren't thinking about it. It's not that we didn't want or not want, it just wasn't, we had other goals and things going forward.
Yeah.
And then eventually, got to a point where we looked at each other one day and we're like, yeah, okay, this is the right time. It was literally like, always the wrong time, and then the next day, all of a sudden, it was the right time.
That's so funny.
And we got super lucky in that we got pregnant very quickly. So we do feel very blessed in that way. And it was a shock.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, I know everybody kind of must go through. I know I'm not alone in how I feel, but just I was completely shocked because no matter how much you prepare and how much you listen to your friends who already have kids and you kind of like get into, the mindset of mom and family and like balancing work if you choose to continue to work or at least try to continue to work and having kids and whatever that looks like, it's just nothing really prepares you for that.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. It's so true. My sister just had a baby, and I tried so hard to tell her without being like doomsday and saying it's going to be the hardest thing you're ever going to do. I wanted her to know that it wasn't going to be sunshine and rainbows. And yes, you're going to love your baby, but you're also going to not want to hold your baby all the time. There's going to be times when you just want to be alone. And you know, I feel like a lot of people talked down to me about that kind of stuff when I was pregnant. Like, oh, just wait. You have no idea what you're in for. And I don't want to dash any dreams to pieces. But when she finally had the baby, it was just kind of like, oh my goodness, this is not what I thought it was going to be. Like, there's just no way to prepare somebody for how much sacrifice you have to make to sustain another life, let alone like growing the baby, birthing the baby, but then sustaining that life and giving everything of yourself. Yeah, nobody can be prepared for that. I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, my pregnancy in like the big picture of pregnancies was pretty easy, pretty like atypical pregnancy. I went natural birth, which my husband was shocked over. 32 hours of natural childbirth.
Oh my gosh.
And a whole lot of stitches.
Oh no. Baptism by fire into motherhood. Holy cow.
It was crazy. And then I became obsessed with like what was going in to my body and what I was giving my kid. And so like afterwards and all the stitches and everything were done. And they're like, so, you know, you can take some Vicodin or some Percocet, or we can give you some painkiller. I'm like, I'll just take some Advil, please.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. Like looking back on it, I was crazy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd be like, give me all the medication, please.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. And I remember, like, I don't have a lot of memories of like the pushing part, but I remember because I was in a teaching hospital. And they don't get a lot of natural births in the hospital. There was a line of nursing students against.
Oh, that's fun. You're like, and the show is beginning. Here we go.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. And like my husband asked one of the girls, like, why were there so many people? And they said, well, there's not a lot of natural births in here. And so it's a learning experience for us. And he's like, well, what's different? And one of the girls said, well, it's louder.
It's just kind of more like what you see on the movies.
Right.
How come every movie childbirth, nobody gets epidurals? I mean, come on. No way. Yeah, no way.
I don't know. I was
so
more
funny.
scared of the needle than I was of natural childbirth. And now I'm like, wow, that's kind of crazy.
Would you do it again that way if you had the choice?
I don't know. I ask myself that often. I don't know if we're going to have another one or not, or if we're going to try at least. But I do ask myself that. Would I go for, I still feel the thought of a needle going into my spine.
Makes you more nervous.
Makes me more nervous.
That is so funny. I welcome that needle, even if it takes 3 attempts to get it in there. Just make the pain go away. Oh, man. Okay, tangent. Holy cow.
Okay, sorry.
No, I love it. I think everybody loves talking about childbirth and your experience. It's like the most empowering thing we do as mothers is bring those children into the world. So anyway, so tell me about, you kind of mentioned like you were very aware of what you're putting into your body and what was going into your child's body. So have you always been a clean eater? Like, did you kind of come on as this whole like crazy, I want to say fad, but it's really not a fad. It's something that I think is going to stick around for a long time. Tell me about your journey with the clean eating and what you've created.
Yeah. So as a child, I'm going to go way back.
Okay.
As a child, I dealt with a lifetime of digestive issues. Primarily dealing with, I hope I don't gross anybody out, but primarily dealing with constipation issues, just to put it right out there. and the doctors and my pediatrician, I remember sitting in there and my mom's like, worried about what's going on. And the doctor, who unfortunately at that point, was not formally trained in nutrition. They were more trained in like treating symptoms, right? Which is changing now, thankfully. But they said, well, just give her more whole grains and more pasta. And like, that's the farthest thing. And so my mom's like, oh, okay, I'll give her more whole grain. We'll eat whole wheat toast. And, She can have pasta for dinner every day. And that just exacerbated the issue,
Yeah.
because our bodies are really not meant to process wheat and gluten and those kinds of things that are already, they have to be processed in order for us to consume them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you need to go through this heavy process in order for you just to be able to eat something, yeah, you got to question, and I have to question now whether or not it's really actually helping you,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to, picking a piece of fruit off of a tree or a bush, or pulling a carrot out of the earth and just eating it, or even going so far as to being able to eat meats
Mm-hmm.
in their raw state. Not all of them, of course, but you can eat. You might not like raw beef, but you can eat it in its raw state. It's not going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming it's been butchered properly. Um, and so I went through this whole process of lifetime of issues. And by the time I was hitting my 20s, by the time I was 30, actually, during my 20s, I had three or four colonoscopies and two endoscopies.
Wow.
So three or four up and two or three down. And I was dealing with a lot of acid reflux by that point, and just couldn't handle it. And so in 2007, 2008, I discovered CrossFit with my husband, then boyfriend. And through CrossFit, I discovered the paleo diet. And, I using diet as a loose, just more like a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
It changed the way I function. It changed the way I interact with food. It changed my digest. I have no problems. And at this point in my life, as long as I stick to an 80-20 rule, so 80% paleo,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have digestive issues.
That's
I don't have
awesome.
acid reflux. I'm not on any medications. I don't take, Metamucil or fiber or supplements or anything like that. And it's just a matter of putting whole nutrient dense food in my body. And then I had a daughter, and then I decided to try and breastfeed. And that was, I was eight, she was tongue tied and lip tied, and went through a whole lot of stuff with that, excuse me. Um, and we eventually got to the point where I was able to breastfeed. I was able to feed like three people. I was making so much milk,
Yeah.
but I tried going paleo again after I gave birth, and getting back onto a really holistic, nutrient dense diet. And I couldn't do that and breastfeed.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried doing CrossFit too, which was really, really bad idea.
Yeah, I bet.
And so I was just in this like struggle mode. I was in survival mode. I couldn't function. I knew that if I had asked for help sooner,
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have been able to find that paleo healthy balance
Yeah.
and still be able to breastfeed. But I couldn't, for whatever, I don't know, ridiculous reason that was going on in my head. I wasn't able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So once she was finished breastfeeding, I put my foot down and I'm like, this is it. Like, we're going to figure out, we're not going out to eat anymore. I'm not doing, I'm not doing my croissant sandwich a day that I was doing just to like survive. And I need to figure this out. And so I went back to meal planning, which I had done before she was born, and meal prep. And I started really getting intentional about planning out our meals, writing out the grocery list, and then spending 2 to 3 hours one day a week, which for me is usually on Sunday afternoons,
Mm-hmm.
prepping the food for the week so that during the week I had little to no cooking. So lunches were prepackaged. Breakfast is like either a quiche or some sort of, or breakfast muffins, or some sort of grab and go or
Mm-hmm.
easily reheated food, but it's cooked already,
Yeah.
for the most part, unless I'm like frying a couple eggs or something like that. And it changed the way we ate. It got us back on track. My daughter is almost completely paleo. My husband also has digestive issues, and so I just don't want to go there with her. I want her to really enjoy holistic, nutrient-dense foods.
Yeah.
Fruits, vegetables, proteins, meats, that kind of thing, healthy fats. And it works for us. And I started sharing it with people, and it has now blossomed into a monthly subscription business where so I share those with people every week. They get a new menu, new prep day, new grocery list, day of instructions. And it's, it's a lot of fun. It's a learning experience for a lot of people. A lot of people who haven't done meal prep before, or even if you've done meal prep before but didn't do it with a family, it's a whole different game.
Right. Yeah.
So my members are families. There, and it's primarily moms. I don't have a whole lot of male members that actually signed up.
Interesting.
I mean, women are really the food architects of home. They're the architects of so much in the home, but really when it comes to food, it's primarily moms. And it's interesting because even if moms don't cook, they still end up being the food architects.
Yeah.
I have a cousin whose wife does not cook at all. And because of that, the architecture of the food in their household is very much revolved around eating out. And that's just the way that they function.
Yeah.
And so, so the moms in my and primarily moms in my membership will choose to do this because they want to improve how they're feeding their kids, improve how they're feeding themselves. Because it's hard. Like we forget about ourselves, right?
Yep.
And there's so many times when like you are struggling to get food on the table for your kids who are screaming their heads off, or crying or, going crazy, and you just want to get food on the table. And then all of a sudden, and 2 hours later, you realize that you didn't sit down with them and eat yourself. Or you find yourself standing in front of the fridge, like eating whatever.
Eating all of it.
Eating all the things.
Yeah. Or just the leftovers off their plate.
Right. Yes. I mean, totally. I mean, I do that all the time. And so I had to find myself, even if I was at home that day with my daughter, and I ended up going back to work after my daughter was born. But when I was home with her, just having that meal already prepared, already portioned out in the refrigerator, just meant that even if I was standing in the kitchen eating it, I was eating. And I didn't have to do anything other than take a lid off.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a soup and I reheated it in the microwave or something, but it was done and that was it. And I got my food in, and I love the idea of, sitting down and, saying thank you for the meal and having some sort of food ritual. I really appreciate the food rituals that we all create in our own households.
Yeah.
But I know that sometimes that's not realistic with moms.
Yeah. Yeah.
I should say parents in general. But it's just, you have to have the food available. And if you have it available, and if you as the parent don't have to sit there and say, okay, I'm going to make a salad today for this one meal, I'm going to chop everything, I'm going to make it, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden now you have to eat it. If instead you got to just take the lid off and sit down, and then you can have your food ritual, you can sit with your kids and eat, instead of trying to just prepare something for yourself and shove it in your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I like that idea. And I think that's so important. I feel like whether you're just busy trying to take care of a family and have a husband working, or whether you're kind of a hybrid and you're working from home, or you're working at a job and you come home, there's so many different ways that people are doing family life right now. And I feel like for us, with both of us working from home, you would think it'd be really easy to get dinner on the table because we're both home all day. But 3:30, 4 o'clock comes around and we're just like, what should we eat? I don't know. You decide. I don't know. Should we go to the grocery store? And nobody wants to go to the grocery store at 4 o'clock because everybody's at the grocery store at 4 o'clock. And just having the menu plan, and I can't even imagine how easy my life would be if it was prepped. So I'm really excited because I'm going to be trying out your menu plans. I was just perusing everything before we got on the call and I was like, yes. And I know these programs are so beneficial for people like me because you have the busy factor and you can't be good at everything. And this is what I love. I had a little girl over here yesterday helping us assemble games that we're selling on Amazon. And she was telling me she writes genetic code for fun. Like, she wants to be a geneticist one day. And I'm like, that is so weird, but cool. Like, somebody has to want to be a geneticist, or else we just don't keep learning about stuff like that. And somebody has to want to sell on Amazon, and somebody has to be really passionate about food and meal prep, because I don't know. That's totally a tangent, but I just love how your skills and that being something that you've learned can benefit my life, and how the circle of life just keeps going around. I just think it's really cool, because sometimes your brain works a certain way and you just can't make the time to fit in healthy eating or knowing how to prepare it. And you just resort to eating cinnamon rolls and breakfast burritos every morning. And it's just the best you can do. So yeah. I love that.
It's awesome. It is hard to get ourselves out of survival mode and to make a big change. And I go back to this, but especially when you have children, it's really hard to make a big change within ourselves. It's sometimes easier to make a change or teach a new skill to our kids than to make that change ourselves. And, one of my goals is really to allow a family to make a change, as opposed to, here, this is a diet, a quote unquote diet for you, or this is a diet for your kids, or, like, it's not about, restriction, and it's not about, only one person is going to benefit from this. It's about what we can do as a whole family.
Right.
And creating those new food rituals and getting the kids involved. My daughter has kid safe knives. She's had them for about 2 years.
Nice.
She helps me chop in the kitchen. And she helps me mix and that kind of stuff. There's some really awesome, kid-friendly kitchen tools out there. There's a bunch on Amazon.
That's cool.
And I love them, and I try to share those with people as much as possible, because those are the things that, if you're in the kitchen and you're committing to meal prep on Sunday afternoon or whatever that day is for you, and you do have little kids running around, it can really mean the difference between, like, making this happen and not making it happen if they've got some activity going on near you.
Right.
And involving them in the kitchen, because at the end of the day, there are so many things in this world that we don't need. Food is not one of them.
Right. That's true.
And sending our kids out into the world with a knowledge of, basic knowledge of what good choices mean, and how to prepare food for yourself in its most basic form, at the very minimum, and how to, make those good choices when they do go out into the world, regardless of where they go.
Yeah.
And doing that as a family. And I think they learn from what we do. They learn by watching us more than us telling them. And so, I try and help families do that.
I love that. I love that. I just recently started homeschooling, and one of the first things my son wanted to learn was how to cut tomatoes, like how to use knives safely. And he's the type of kid that you show him once and he thinks he can always just go and help himself to the knife. So I need to get some of those kid-friendly utensils. I didn't even think about that being in existence. Maybe that's something I should sell on Amazon.
You should. We should sell it. We should brand it.
Yeah, seriously. Yes. Okay. We haven't even mentioned the name of your business, like the name of your meal prep and all of the things. What is it? Tell everybody.
Okay. So my company name is Eating Clean, Cooking Dirty.
I love that.
And for all of you ladies who want to know, eating clean, you probably get that one. Cooking dirty. I don't believe that you can eat well without getting dirty. You're going to get your kitchen dirty, your hands dirty. You need to get in there and just, experience food, and encourage your kids to, and your whole family to experience food, and just get the kitchen dirty, get your plates dirty. It's just, unless you can afford your private chef who's going to do it all for you and keep your kitchen spotless.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
But not reality for a lot of us.
It's not about reality. It's not about frozen meals that you just pop in the refrigerator or in the oven. It's about getting in there and making it happen, and just getting it done on prep day if you can, as much as possible, and making sure that you're prepared for the week.
Awesome. And I love that the menu plans come and you use Trello, because I love Trello. We were both friends of Dana Malstaff, so we love Trello. We probably learned about her maybe from the same training. So cool. I love it because you break it down into Clean 100. Is that like 100% paleo, and then 80/20 is 80% paleo?
Yep.
And then what's kosher?
30%. Okay, so kosher. So I'm half Jewish.
Okay.
And I actually started. My daughter used to go to a Jewish school, and I found that there are not a lot of options for kosher menus in general. There's a lot of recipes out there for kosher menus. But for those of you who don't know, kosher, really what you're looking at when you're looking at a kosher menu, the dairy and meat are not mixed together in recipes. So you won't see them in a single recipe together. Oh. And you also won't see shellfish.
Interesting.
And you won't see pork. So those are the primary things. What's really nice about kosher menus for people who don't keep kosher is that if you are dairy free, or you need to be dairy free within your family, the kosher menus will fit your family better than the other menus. Oh. So paleo does use a little bit of generally whole fat, cheese, yogurt, and I really make them optional. So you're not going to see like mac and cheese on the menu or some form of mac and cheese. Mm-hmm. All of the recipes can be cheese optional. Okay. But I have a lot of people that need to be dairy free. Mm-hmm. I don't do vegetarian menus. Okay. That's the one thing. I don't have vegetarian menus at the moment. So
I feel like you can't do everything though, like you can't cater to every eating type, or otherwise it would just literally be eat 3 bananas today. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to try and cut out some of the gluten and the grains, and you're going to cut out some dairy, I mean, I don't know. You can't please everybody. So I like what you've created there. It's very specific with still being, it creates allowance for a lot of different eating types.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And I don't eat vegetarian diets. And I really believe, unless you've got some sort of digestive issues that you're working through with your health practitioner, meat in some form, protein, fish, meat is good for you. Mm-hmm. I don't, and a lot of people, so one of the misconceptions of paleo is that it's really high in animal protein. And it doesn't really need to be that way. I wouldn't say I don't do a high protein, animal protein diet. Mm-hmm. I do have protein every single day. But I don't think we need quite as much as we maybe think we do, or as some diets might tell us we need to.
Or like the protein, I think we all forget that there's protein in fruits and vegetables too, like just different levels. But really, I think I grew up with the conception that like you can't get full on fruits and vegetables, you can't get full on salads, you need bread. You need a lot of meat. Like that's what my brain tells me, is that you're not going to be full if there's not some kind of meat on the table and there's not some kind of bread. But that is so false. So false.
Right. And one of the great things, and a lot of something that people don't realize, is that fat as in terms of healthy fat foods. Mm-hmm. So coconut, avocado, bacon, those kind of fattier foods. Fat is really something that will satiate you, but fat cannot be synthesized into body fat. Mm. So protein and carbohydrates will be synthesized into body fat if they're not utilized. But fat can't. It will just come out.
I learn new things all the time.
Yeah. So it'll be converted. It'll be used as energy. It'll satiate you. So it really fills you up. So if you're looking at a plate and you just don't feel like eating protein at that meal for whatever reason, add some avocado. Like, that is really what's going to help fill you up and help fuel you, to the next meal, and get you energized for the day. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're incredible. Okay. Tell everybody what you're reading. I could talk to you all day long because I'm learning all the things.
Okay, so I am a big reader. I do early morning, so I'm usually up at about 4:30
Oh
and
my
have my own
gosh. Of
morning
course you
ritual.
are.
It's crazy. And then in the mornings, I read self-improvement stuff. So Miracle Mornings is one of my favorite books. Right now, I'm reading Nutrition and Physical Degeneration.
Of course you are.
Yeah, I'm constantly trying to educate myself
That's good.
and learn different things.
Yeah.
And then in the evening, it's all like fiction stuff. And so I'm a big fan of Coco Chanel. I used to live in London. I actually went to move to London for fashion design school.
Oh, wow.
So I read a lot of like European novels, history novels. So London, the novel is a history novel of
Hmm.
London. And it starts back in like, oh gosh, I don't want to say it's like from like, so the first, documented people that they
Hmm.
found within the London territory all the way through to present day. It's kind of
Cool.
crazy. It's a big novel.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's really interesting if you like the whole like generational, because it kind of follows this how this like families all go through like the generations together.
Yeah.
uh, and it tracks them through um, physical components. So this like common thread of like slightly webbed fingers.
Oh
It's
my
it's
gosh.
kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy.
Interesting.
But it's like how, like it's just so weird, but like I remember my grandmother's toes and I have my grandmother's toes. And that probably means that like her grandmother also has the same toes, right? And like
Yeah.
goes back and back in this like commonality that goes through our generation and that we pass down to our children. So my daughter has my weird toes. Um, I know this said I was a tangent. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's a
That's
very
so
tangential interview. It's fine.
yeah, so those are the kind of things that I read, and
Cool.
I read a lot. I don't sleep
Yeah.
much.
It doesn't sound like it, but busy entrepreneurs don't sleep much, unfortunately. It's totally fine. I'm sure you get tons done in your day, way more than some of us do, especially when you're getting an extra probably like 3 hours over the hours that I am awake, but whatever. And then finally, what makes you a marvelous mom?
Okay, so I have find that I found this question so hard because I wasn't sure what, but I came like after thinking about it. Um, I think I make a big effort to show my daughter um, how I think how to respond to life, how to
Mm-hmm.
respond to challenges, how to respond to learning opportunities, and that the best way to respond to that is with openness and kindness and personal growth, and how can I improve in my life and my personal, whether it's personal or professional or whatever it is. And I think it's not always easy, but I really try and show her that it's a journey and it's
Mm-hmm.
all about the journey. Like the journey only ends once, right? At
Yeah.
the end of our path. You never reach that end journey until whatever that end date is.
Yeah.
And so you should really enjoy each day and go to bed at the end of the day proud of what that day's journey has included.
That's awesome. That is a wonderful answer. Basically, like you're the best example ever
Oh my
to your
gosh,
daughter.
I don't think so. I am a little crazy sometimes.
We all are a little crazy sometimes. It's our right to be a little crazy sometimes. We do a lot. We do a
Yeah,
lot for our families. So
yeah.
craziness is a key component in motherhood. At least I think so. I feel crazy all the time, but my kids still love me at the end of the day. It's all good. Well, I think you're amazing. Where can everybody go check out your meal plans and all things Sam?
Yeah, so you can go to eatingcleancookingdirty.com and there's a 14-day free trial up there right now.
Awesome.
And then also you can go to Facebook if you just put in Eat Clean with S. Rodgers, and My social media stuff is all a work in progress. So I will have we're launching a new Facebook group
Awesome.
next year, so that's going to be a little bit more brand related. But my favorite place is Instagram and
Perfect.
Eat Clean, Cook Dirty, and I love Instagram.
Yeah. Okay, everybody go follow her in all of those places. I will link to everything in the show notes so you guys can easily access all things Sam. Thank you so much for coming on here and inspiring me to do a little better. I can't wait to get my hands, or I guess my hands are on your meal plans, to get my hands dirty using your meal plans. How's that?
There you go. Awesome. Yay.
And everybody else listening, have a marvelous day, and we will see you on the next episode.